Three nighttime memories. Hi, how are you? So, I used to think it would be really cool to be a late night radio DJ. That's why I set up the microphone so I could sort of fulfill that fantasy here. Hey. I would be like, hey, all of you out there in beautiful radio land. This is Nathan Baylet coming to you live from WZYPRB. Playing all the jazz classics. And it's 1 a.m. And if you're still up, I'm up. I'm still up with you. This is why I couldn't be a radio DJ. I keep screwing up. But I just thought it would be really cool to be a late night radio DJ. But so this YouTube is kind of like my way of fulfilling that fantasy of just kind of being there with you, just talking. Maybe you're listening to this at night. Maybe you're listening to the day, but you can then listen again to it at night if you want to. Anyway, I was listening to, when you listen to a podcast at night, it's a different vibe than when you listen to it during the day. Because I used to listen to the radio at night back in the day, and it was just really cool. The stars are up there out the window and everything's quiet, but you got the voice talking to you on the radio. And these days it's the podcast. And so I was listening to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend the other night, at night, and it just got me thinking about the night and memories of the nights. And so I thought I'd share with you 3 memories from the night, 3 nighttime memories. So my senior year in high school and my first year at community college, one of my friends and I, when he wasn't hanging with his girlfriend or I wasn't hanging with a girlfriend, we would always end up at this pizza place and we would talk for hours. And it was a cool pizza joint. The pizza was good. The music on the radio was good. They had pinball machines, and it was just kind of our hangout. And it had a classy vibe. And we didn't have a small town. It was about 60,000 people, but there wasn't much to do. There was, we were in high school, so you could go to a friend's party, or you could go see a movie, or you could hang out at a pizza parlor. So that's what we did. And we would go there, and they had the menus, and they were made out of paper. They were like newspapers. And you'd order, and you could either leave it there or you could take it with you. And so they had a huge stack, and we would order our pizza slices, and then we would take the menu over to the table with us. So we'd sit there, and if you open up the menu and turn it over, there was just blank space. And so it was like 3 foot by 2 feet of blank space. And so we'd lay out the menu on there, and we would draw on it. And we would make a rectangle and say, this is reserved for wasted blank space. That's what we would write. And then we would draw pictures, and we would write poems or lyrics, or I would write part of a story and he'd write another part of the story. And then I'd finish off that story, and then we'd go back and forth, or we'd play, I think hangman or games or whatever's on the thing. And we would, usually we'd end up there after a movie. Like, I think I saw Batman in 1989 like 7 times in the theater, but we'd come back from the movie, and we'd sit at the pizza place, and I'd write a movie review. We saw Batman tonight. Excellent. Except, I wish there was more of Batman going down the bat pole. I was disappointed that there were no bat poles. This is not a euphemism, by the way. I really expected to see Batman going down a bat pole, and I hope they put that in the sequel. Otherwise, I thought the movie was great. And I would write this as a review on the menu. And we would write all this and draw all this on the menus, and then we would leave, and we would leave the menu on the table for the wait staff. And I don't know what happened to those menus. I don't know. I assume they got thrown away. But I'm just curious if any of the wait staff kept those menus, as a souvenir, if they found them funny, if they hung them up. I don't know what happened to those menus, but I just, they're out there somewhere, or they're in the trash. But, if you go to a restaurant and there's a paper menu, you can draw on it. You can write stuff and leave it with the waitstaff, or, those paper placemats, Anyway, that's just something from my past that we used to do. The next memory is I lived in San Francisco for 12 years, 1996 to 2008. And 96 to 2000, I lived in the Haight-Ashbury area. And I had some friends living on Haight Street, but I lived a couple blocks south of Haight Street. But Haight-Ashbury is, of course, known for, the Grateful Dead and the 1969 Free Love movement and all that time period. And there's a vibe there, and I think there's still a vibe there. It's a little more upscale now, but there's a kind of a really cool vibe there. And it was really fun living in the Haight-Ashbury area at that time. And so what I remember from there is we would go to a restaurant late at night on the weekends. And there was a belly dancing restaurant that served really great food. And then there was bars, and we'd go to the bars, and maybe there was a band playing, and we'd get drunk enough that get the really good vibe going. You're just feeling good. And then, midnight or 1 a.m., you go to the pizza slice place. Pizza night seems to be a theme here. So we'd go to the pizza slice place and get our slice, and then we'd walk, and I'd usually stay the night at their apartment on Haight Street. And but as we walked down Haight Street, sometimes the fog would roll down the street. I mean, literally, you'd be in the fog, and it would wispy go down the street. And, that's the thing about San Francisco. It's already a beautiful city, but then you get the fog coming in. It's like this supernatural magic that happens. And it just blankets the city in this cool, it wasn't eerie. It was just cool, man. It was like a fantasy land. It was like a mystical, magical fantasy land. And the fog would start to roll in around 4 p.m. You just see it kind of coming overhead. It was about 4 stories above you, and then it would lower down as the night got on. And, about 1 a.m., it would just flow through the streets. So, I'm drunk with a buzz, got my friends, and got my pizza slice. Life is good. And walking through Haight with all the neon lights, and everybody's happy, and you got the fog rolling down the street. And I just remember that being a really cool memory. So anyway, that's memory number 2. And memory number 3 of nighttime is also in San Francisco. So I'd say from 2005 to 2008, I would either go to bars with friends, girlfriends, or I would take a night off and I just walk around the city by myself. And these solo night excursions around San Francisco are dear to me because, I don't know, it was just something really cool about the city, but it felt like an explorer, excavation, adventure kind of thing. So I would start out by going to the Hilton Hotel, and I'd go all the way to the top. And at the top of the Hilton Hotel, they have a bar. And the bar is beautiful. And the thing about it is it had windows all over, and you could see the city from every single angle, north, south, east, west. And you could see on the west side all the way to the ocean across the city. And then the other side, you could see all the way of downtown sparkling at night. And then you could see the Bay Bridge in the distance, and there's Oakland, and then there's, the rest of the country on the other side. And I would just love to look at that view, and I'd wear kind of classy clothes, and I got my dress shoes on, and I'd sit at the bar and I'd order either a martini with 2 olives, or I'd order a sidecar, which is a brandy margarita. And I would just sit there and enjoy the classy atmosphere, and I'd drink my drink, get a nice buzz going on, and then I'd go back down the elevators. And I would begin the adventure of, I'd walk through the classy lobby, and then I'd walk out, and I would walk usually to Union Square, which was lit up all beautiful right in front of the Western St. Francis Hotel, and there was Macy's, and it was like the heart of San Francisco right there in Union Square. It was a very cool place to start. And either I would continue walking downtown, but there wasn't much there because at night in San Francisco, in downtown, it was not many people. Or I would go through Chinatown, and I would always end up in North Beach. So I'd walk through Chinatown, or I would go all the way up Powell Street, and I'd walk with the cable cars all the way up. The thing about Powell Street, or pretty much any way you go, is like the streets are like this. Very steep. And so, especially if you took Mason and walked up to the Fairmont Hotel, and go past the Mark Hopkins Hotel, the really classy hotels up there, which is great to stay at if you want to splurge every once in a while, but you got to walk up that hill. If you ever walk back down to go to dinner, and then you go walk back up. When I stayed at the Mark Hopkins Hotel once for the San Francisco Writers Conference in 2018, and that was great, except you had to walk all the way back down. You had to walk down, eat dinner, and then you'd have to walk all the way back up while you're full. Anyway, I digress. So I would go walking either through downtown or Chinatown, or I'd take Powell Street, and or I'd go up Mason past the Fairmont Hotel, and I'd end up in North Beach. And I'd walk. The thing about North Beach is that's where a bunch of movies were filmed. They filmed Basic Instinct. They filmed Star Trek IV: Voyage Home. They filmed The Princess Diaries up on the west side there, up the hill from Columbus Avenue, which is the main street through North Beach. And they filmed the Hulk, where the Hulk turns into the Hulk. And they filmed The Wedding Planner up there, the whole bunch of movies. So North Beach is really special for me. I think they filmed Just Like Heaven there with Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo. And so I would just wander around North Beach, and I'd go through the neighborhoods, and it was just beautiful. And sometimes I would take a camera, but that was sort of later. Was it later? No. That was earlier. In 2004, I was taking pictures. But, 2005 to 2008, I wouldn't take my camera. I'd just walk around. And I wasn't smart about this because I wouldn't take tennis shoes. I'd have my dress shoes because I didn't want to wear sneakers to the the bar at the classy Hilton Hotel. So I'd end up have my dress shoes. And I would always walk farther than I thought I would. I would end up walking like 4 or 5 miles in a night. And I would just walk around North Beach. And then sometimes I would walk all the way down to Columbus, and I'd end up down towards the wharf. And sometimes I would walk up Union Street, which would go up, I think it's called Russian Hill. Yeah, Nob Hill and then Russian Hill. Anyway, one of the hills. And I would walk up and end up at where they filmed The Princess Diary, where they get in a car accident with the cable car scene. And then I'd go over the hill, because all these fancy houses, and walk past those and the glittery lights. And then I would pass over the hill, and I'd start to go down into the marina, and I'd pass Polk Street, and I'd go down either Van Ness Street or Union Street, and I'd end up in Cow Hollow, and then I'd end up in the marina. And by then I've walked 4 miles, 5 miles in my dress shoes. But I just loved walking around San Francisco. It's such a walking town, and when I'm up in the hills, there's nobody around. Everybody's in their houses, they're out, or they're all out of the bars. So there's not many people up there. I'm just looking at the lights and looking at the city, and I'm thinking about stuff. And then I'd get in the marina, and I'd walk past the bars. And I remember in my novel there, Passion or Pancakes, shameless plug, I had one of my characters, Skip, say that I would walk past the bars at night and not go in. And Skip was afraid to go in, but I wasn't afraid to go in. But I loved walking past all the bars. So that's what it was, a reference to that. And I'd walk past all the bars in the marina and see all the people, having a good time. And then I'd walk to the next bar and see that one. Every once in a while, I'd stop in at a bar and maybe have another drink. I wasn't a big drinker. I sort of reserved my drinking for those weekend times. But then I'd go to walk past another bar, and I just loved walking around San Francisco at night. It was it was just cool, man. And then when I got too tired, I'd flag a taxi and I'd go home. Man, yeah, I remember those. I remember walking around San Francisco. So those nighttime memories, there's something really cool and relaxing about the night. The creativity flows, and I can write poems on paper menus. And what was the second thing? With the fog rolling down the street, right? Going, hanging out with friends, walking on Haight Street, or just walking around the city. And I guess I'm thinking about this because I haven't done it in so long. I mean, when I moved back up to Portland, I would go out sometimes for these excursions where I would photograph Portland at night. Now it's like, I go to a friend's house, or maybe I go to a party at some place, but it's just not the same. I miss that magic of the night of just kind of walking around. And anyway, just thought I'd share all that. And if you're still listening to this, if you're enjoying listening to this, this is just me rambling about stuff. And for the 10 of you watching this video, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I appreciate it very much. And this is just a place where I can just talk and sort of remember stuff and talk about stuff and share stuff with you. Because, you have your life, and then, what do you do with it? You've shared it with people. It just seems like, you want to put it someplace. And so this is a way I can, share it and put it on the internet. And, some of my memories go into my books. And it's just a place to put this, musicians put their memories into songs. It's just, you have these memories, and you got to put it someplace and share it with people. And maybe people care, and maybe they don't. But at least it just feels like it was meaningful. Like, my life was meaningful to me, but it just gives it that extra oomph to share memories with you. Anyway, I'm rambling again. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week for another exciting YouTube video. Have a great day and have a great week.